now you have to record that.
Just go swallow this mic.
I'm so used to like, people being a lot shorter. So I'm seeing the mic. You can actually turn it up.
Yeah, turn it up.
There you go. I'm going to start off every episode with, how long have we known each other for? We're going on like almost 20, right?
Yeah, because 2006. Wow, 20.
What year did you graduate? Did you graduate in 06?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were older than me by like a year.
I'm glad I'm not.
Okay. Wait, 88?
Well, birthday. Yeah, birthday.
So you had a late birthday.
Yeah, 87.
Oh, so you missed the cutoff for school to start.
I did.
That makes
Helped
sense.
in sports, though. My dad would always say, because the class ahead of me, I would have lost a year in sports if I was with that other group.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So wait, your birthday is, you must have just missed the cutoff, right?
Yeah, September 22nd. I think it's a week.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's cool then. You were old for your class then.
I was old for my class.
Jeez.
But then when I went to high school, where it was kids from all over the place, there was kids that were actually older, that were like, their birthdays might have been August.
Really?
Or July.
Yeah.
So it was a different cutoff. So there was kids that were like 19.
Oh,
and I
no
was
shit.
18. Yeah.
No shit. I thought it was all the same. I thought the cutoff was all in like September.
No, I think Rhode Island, different towns were different, and Mass.
It could be.
Yeah, I
That's
don't know.
weird.
Or maybe they stayed back and they lied.
So we've known each other for almost 20 years. So the point of this here podcast, this program, is to talk about the shows, music, and movies that you were into at three different phases of your life. So childhood, high school, college, which is around the time we met. We bonded over a certain celebrity.
There's some great shows in there, in that mix.
I was thinking a certain celebrity, but also a certain show that we bonded over. And then like today, what are you into today? So we'll start off with one question I have off rip. So we'll start with your childhood. We'll go with music. The first tape or CD that you remember owning?
It's a great question. So me and Margaret were talking about this the other day. So we're on our way to basketball, and Biggie was playing, and Juicy came on.
Yeah.
So we went through it. I ripped all the words. And Margaret goes, "How did you know that?" I said, "Well, let me tell you a little story about this song." So I had a neighbor that played basketball every single day. He was probably, when I was in kindergarten, he was probably in 5th or 6th grade.
Yep.
So I would go over and shoot with him. Now, at that point, Biggie was hot. Tupac was hot. TLC was hot. The music would come on, I think it was Kicks 106 at the time.
Yeah, Kicks 106.
And he would play it outside in like a boombox while we were listening, playing basketball. He would record with a second tape, like in the actual cassette player.
Yeah, to play it off the radio.
To play it off the radio to have it back later.
Yeah.
So that song would come on all the time, and he'd sing it. So I started at like an early age.
Yeah.
Just being able to pick up on lyrics. So I go over, and I want that song because I want to be able to, in my friends group, rip this song. So I have them record it. So I go home and I throw it in my Walkman. I listen to it. One day my mother hears the lyrics. She's like, "What are you saying? Where did you get this tape?" And so yeah, I
So your first tape was actually like a mixtape.
it was like a mixtape.
Yeah.
Yep, Juicy. I'm trying to think of what else. Some of those.
Like Bone Thugs and Harmony. That was like around the same time Busta Rhymes first came
Rhymes, Crazy, what was it? Crazy, Sexy, Cool,
Yeah,
TLC,
yeah.
Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls.
Yeah.
My grandmother found that tape.
Yeah.
My mother allowed me to buy the tape. She wasn't paying attention, I guess. She found the tape and she's like, "Can you believe the things they're saying on this?" To my mother. So she took the tape. But I always worried after playing basketball with him, going to school and swearing, because they all were so much older and they used just language that was so bad.
Yeah.
So I'd come home in my friends group. I'd be like, "Oh, listen to what I learned over there." And we'd all swear in my backyard. And I'm just like kindergartners, first grade. And I remember going into first grade in that year, and I was like, I got to be really careful what I say. I like vividly remember taking the bus to school and thinking, "Oh my God, I'm gonna slip up and say something. Everyone's gonna know how vile of a mouth this little kid has."
Did you say that stuff at home? Like you had younger
No.
siblings?
That was like my private life.
Okay.
That was like kids would come over from baseball and like, "Hey, listen to this mixtape I got here."
Yeah. So that was your first tape was like a mixtape. Do you remember your first CD? Because that was like a big change of the technology going from tape to CD. You didn't have to fast forward and rewind. You could just skip songs.
It might have been, what was it? Like, they had like the hottest 10 songs of 20 songs.
Oh yeah, like now that's
now.
That's what I call music.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. Do they still make those? They're probably on like 608 now.
Oh my God. I think it was like now 10 or something. And I was smart as a kid. I'd say to my mother, "Oh, let's get Kate, my sister, let's get her the CD for Christmas," because it might have been something that I also wanted. So I'd be like, "Oh, get her the Backstreet Boys," because I wanted to listen to the music too, and I knew I might be getting a different CD.
Right.
So yeah. Well, how about you? What do you know? What your first?
I think my first tape was I had 3 that I would shuffle through back in the day, and I don't remember which one was first. I had Metallica Load, I had Coolio, and I had Hootie and the Blowfish.
Okay.
First CD was Space Jam soundtrack. I think it was either that or Puff Daddy and the Family. But I think it was Space Jam.
So I was just thinking the Space Jam might have been my first CD. That thing got scratched up. It was orange. It had like the Mars or something on it.
Yeah.
That thing was good. There was some pretty vile rap on that too, though.
Oh, dude, some of those songs you could listen to now, and they still slap.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Monstars anthem. It's a great song to get yourself.
Greetings, are you ready?
Another Coolio hit. Yeah. Do you remember your first concert, or was that when you were older?
I don't. Well,
did you go to concerts when you were a kid or something?
Kind of like Peter, Paul, and Mary.
I don't even know what that is.
Like a kid's folk music.
Okay.
Down at the Cape Cod Melody Tent. So I didn't really go to
shows until you were older.
Until I was older. I think the first might have been Lil Wayne in Providence.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went to Sugarland. Sugarland was banging.
Yeah.
Country music concerts are just it's
a different vibe.
It's a different vibe. It is. We just went to Kane Brown, and it's just totally different.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure going to a rock and roll concert probably has that same. They're different crowds. I mean, you can probably merge some of the people.
Right.
But the country music crowd, it was a good crowd. It wasn't a bunch of shitheads. You know? It was probably 80% girls. Mm-hmm. And if they were there, they were with a guy. It was their boyfriend.
I remember the early days of like Country Fest and hearing about the shit that would go on. Everybody would just get belligerent, and there was fights and puking and people going to the hospital. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about going to these fucking shows. I remember
that. I was like, ugh. That's not what my country experience has been, but that was always like brutal to hear.
Yeah.
I think this weekend, coming up next weekend actually, is Kenny Chesney.
Yeah, so it's got to be another Country Fest or something at Gillette.
Like a knockoff, because John's got 4 suites.
Oh, really?
And they were talking about a pickleball, and they're renting 3 Greyhounds.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I'm like, we know the drinking situation. So I'm like, and he's like rounding people up, extras. And I'm like, I don't know if I can slip into that bus and just sip on waters while you guys rip it. And,
right.
And then go into 3 suites or 4. I think he said 4 suites, and his daughter has 1.
No kidding.
He has 3 and she has 1.
Damn.
So
I mean, I'm sure it's a good show. It's just like maybe when you're amongst the people, I don't know if I'd want to be
down in the
not when they're drunk and stuff. Like I'm just not into that whole vibe. Yeah. So when you were younger, because I think when we grew up, that '90s was very like kind of a mix of music, because we had like the boy band spike, we had like rap and hip hop, and then we had a lot of rock and grunge music and whatnot. Were you into all 3, or did you favor one over the other? You were more into hip hop, or did you get into everything?
I think a little bit of everything. I would say hip hop was probably at the top, and then a little bit of everything else. I would kind of listen to whatever I heard was cool. Being around those older kids, or my neighbor across the street on the other side, he would have volleyball parties. So I'd go over there. His kids one was like 5 years older. The next one was a year older, and his son was a year younger. So I kind of would just pick up on what like the cool crowd, I guess you'd call it, was doing, and kind of follow that trend.
Yeah.
So a little bit of everything.
I think TRL helped with that, because on that countdown you'd have a pretty good mix of music if you watched it. You'd have like Ricky Martin and then like the Hot Boys and Lil Wayne and the Hot Boys. And
I think too at that time you're in third, fourth grade. You might have a crush. Your crush listens to a certain song. You start listening to it, and then you're like, "Oh, it broke my heart because she doesn't like me, but you want her to know she likes me." It's like a weird stage.
yeah, for sure.
So you're kind of just like influenced by so many things, and that's what music does for people. It brings them through different types of their life and memories. So
right, for sure. And I think that's a good segue into like the TV shows, because TRL was like the show for music. So when you were a kid back in the day, were you watching a lot of TV, like Nickelodeon, Disney? What did you get into?
So I'd watch the Saturday shows that my dad would throw on, like the cartoons, like the traditional cartoons. And then a lot of times my parents were going out on Saturday nights, dinner with friends, that type of thing, or events, whatever they were kind of into at that point. We'd have a babysitter. So I would get into all that, like that really, I guess you'd say, like rougher content for that a kid probably shouldn't be watching at nighttime. So I would probably usually tune into like the Doug. I guess that was Nick at Night or Nickelodeon or whatever. I know they transitioned. It was like Nick at Night and
Nicktoons and shit.
It was so I liked all that. I liked Doug. I liked Hey Arnold. I'm trying to think of what else.
Those are
kind of the staples.
Yeah, those are definitely the staples. What was the other one? The Family Double Dare.
Oh yeah.
What was it? They had the other one. It was like kind of like a challenge show with the
slime. You talking about the
with the kid? What was it, like Wild and Crazy Kids?
Okay.
Or did I make that up?
I know what you're talking about. I never got like into those like challenge shows too much. A little bit with the slime shows. I don't necessarily remember the names, but I was like, all that was really the show. And once my parents kind of figured out what that was about, they were like, "Nah, this isn't good. This is gonna raise a little punk." So that would be like, "Oh, the babysitter's coming over. She wants to watch this.
She wants to watch all that.
She wants to watch all that." So we're watching it, and they had great hip hop on it at that point.
They really did. They really did. It was like the SNL for kids. It seemed like, and they had a lot of talented, young actors on it.
Yeah,
like Amanda Bynes and.
She lost her mind.
And then that's a whole other thing about that industry of
they did dirty.
Yeah. Well, Keenan and Kel.
Yeah, Keenan and Kel was, I think, in that same lineup.
Yeah, Drake Bell, Josh Peck. Yeah, so I mean, it was like the SNL for kids, but it was a little bit like.
It was borderline.
It was borderline. It was some ridiculous stuff going on when you're watching as a kid.
Oh, it was. Yeah, I think back and think like, wow, like as a kid that was.
Yeah.
But today, you want to be able to watch that.
No, not some of the skits that they were doing. So did you watch a lot of cartoons, even getting into like the middle school era? Or was that when you kind of like dumped off of it?
Probably not. So even back then, I was busy, like games.
Yeah, I was doing shit.
Yeah, I had a lot going on, bro. Too much going on for that. I had games at night all year round. Some sport was being played. And after school, a lot of times I'd go with my dad almost every day, and maybe up until like November hit, and then outside, and then we'd be playing football. I'd be running routes, catching passes, and then it's really basketball season. So we were really like outside getting ready for basketball season, and then playing basketball games through March. So, and then a lot of those seasons would kind of cross over. So we'd be kind of ending one season, already practicing for the other. Yeah. So a lot of times when I came home, I was like, find a way to slap something on the paper for homework and just turn it in. Because, this is more important.
Right. So you played organized sports from when you were a kid all the way through college.
Yeah. So when I was like 3 or 4, I started playing hockey.
Wow.
And then T-ball right around maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And basketball in that same time frame. I played soccer for a year.
Jeez.
Or 2. And
did you play flag football?
No. I didn't. Well, sort of. There was a guy down the street that had a league with like kids our age every Sunday. So it was organized, but it was not like
official
a paid league, but it was, he had a field and a job. It was lined, it was caught, everything was set up.
Did you lean more towards baseball or basketball?
I would say
Both.
baseball the most practiced.
Yeah.
Like hitting wise and throwing. But basketball was close. I loved shooting. It was kind of also an outlet to just get outside. We've talked about this before. Throw some beats on.
Yep.
It just, I think with baseball, I needed someone to throw to me. Where basketball, I could just pick
by
it
yourself.
up and go and just do it.
Now, when you were playing baseball, what position were you playing?
First, pitched. When I was young, I would catch too.
Really?
So I'd pitch and catch. But being left-handed, it wasn't going to be a thing. I could do it though. Like a couple times in high school, I was like, let me go do it because I'm going to gun somebody out. Like I could just whip it down to second.
Yeah.
Like you got to lead, you're going. Please run, please.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, you do have a little bit of an advantage being a catcher when you're left-handed, right? Because I mean, the way you can get that ball.
You can. The only issue is if a right-handed batter is in there, you whack him in the head. I guess, hey, get out of the way.
That's true too. Yeah, I didn't think of that because most batters are right-handed, and the catchers are typically right-handed too. So you're kind of going around them, I guess. Yeah.
I always wanted to play short. A lot of times in practice, I would play short just to work on my range for first and outfield.
Yeah.
I would just go and just try to get in the hole and throw it, but it's just awkward as a left-hander.
Yeah, that's good to like. Even just practice your reflexes on shortstop. But that is tougher when you're left-handed playing short.
I did it a few times. A couple times I played third and short, but it wasn't a lot of the teams that I played on, all-stars and those things, everyone really was a good position player that they were in their spot. You know, they didn't need me to go play short unless I was on like a really shitty team and then the coach was like, hey, everyone sucks at every position. Just go out and do whatever.
Right.
But generally speaking, even the town leagues, the kids might not have been as good as like the travel or the all-stars, but everyone kind of had a spot that they belonged in, to say the least.
Right. So when you're playing sports, we'll transition into like the movies. Were you geared towards sports movies because you were playing sports, or were you just... Did you get into like the superhero type stuff? I don't know if that was really out when we were younger, but
not really.
Did you watch more like sports movies being into sports?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say more sports movies. I like the Dirt Bike Kid. That was like, I always wanted a dirt bike. Oh, it was unbelievable. The kid like stole this magical dirt bike. He gets to go everywhere. The thing flies. The police are chasing him. Oh yeah.
The Dirt Bike Kid?
Oh yeah. I think it was on Disney. It was... And his mother didn't want him to have it. And it was like everything that I wanted. My mom didn't want me to have a dirt bike. And I was like, maybe I can get this special dirt bike.
Oh my God, the Dirt Bike Kid.
It's unbelievable. I think he's got like a little red Honda.
Dude. Oh my God. Yo, that is so funny. 1985, I never even heard of this.
Epic. He's jumping like trash trucks and stuff. It's just...
That is so funny. It's just like the funniest name of a movie, The Dirt Bike Kid.
And then I would show it to my siblings as like they understood a little more, trying to get them to be like, "Oh, Mom, you gotta let him get a dirt bike." You know, like almost using them as influencers at a young age. Influence that parent. I'm sick of hearing it. My mom wasn't gonna allow it though. She was a nurse. Brother's in a wheelchair for hitting a pole on a motorcycle.
Jesus.
So
no, then that's not even gonna happen.
It took years, and then I got my quad. But it was like,
well, that's the other thing.
It was a beat down.
Let's transition into that. So you got into that type of movie. Did you get into like the Disney Channel original movies?
I did. I'd watch them because my siblings watched them.
Yeah.
So I would just kind of watch them, whatever was on.
Right.
But I liked Free Willy. I would say that was like top of my
list. That's a great movie.
I had so
the
many
sequels
emotions.
are okay, but the original was...
I mean, the kid had a sick BMX bike, rolled around in dunks, like... And he was a little like this adopted kid that just was like a little punk that turned into a decent kid, I guess, at the end.
Yeah. It was a good story. Yeah. And you're looking at like the bikes and the gear and the movies.
I want that for Christmas. Actually, I asked for the bike for Christmas, and my parents got the kids' version of the bike. Yeah. My neighbor, same kid with the mixtape and the basketball, he has the adult version. And I was at an early age, the seat didn't go to the right height, and it always looked a little off.
Yeah.
And it didn't have the 3-piece crank. So I wasn't able to, it had like stop brakes where he had the front brake. So I wasn't able to really like do what I wanted on this bike. And I always felt bad because I'm like, oh, they got me this expensive bike for Christmas, and it's just not the one. It's like my brain at that point was like get stuck on things even at an early age. Like, no, it needs to be this, perfection, I guess.
Right. Any other movies like Sandlot? Was that like a thing for you?
I don't think I've ever watched Sandlot.
Wow, really?
I watched clips, but not like fully through.
No shit. Okay, so the movies weren't really like a big deal growing up.
I did love Lion King. I mean, I loved watching all those, obviously the Space Jam, but I wasn't like
in it.
Yeah, I guess not.
Yeah,
I guess not.
That's fair. Well, on the quad conversation, we'll transition into like the phase 2 here.
Yeah, phase 2.
Because I remember this is around the time we met at college, 2006. And I just remember, I could still picture your profile picture was the quad going up the hill. I could still picture it.
Ripping up that hill behind my house.
Dude.
Yeah.
That was around the time. So like, we'll veer off a little bit just to talk about the college experience because you did some of the most ridiculous things. We don't have to get into it. It's just when we met when you were in the back of a class.
Oh, yeah. drawing on the wall, trying to disturb the class. So, yeah, so I went, I think at that point, I went from junior high where I went to the town school.
Yeah.
Where there was punks, there was kids that like picked on you. There was definitely like this different crowd and all the kids that people thought were tough. Then I, go to high school in Fall River, and I'm like, oh, I can go back and whack their fucking clocks. Yeah, any day of the week. You just, in that point in time, it's almost like the propaganda you sold to by other kids is like, oh, they're so tough because they just have like this little attitude, and
usually they're the ones that if you hit them once, it's like game over.
Or they weren't even like, I don't really remember those kids getting in all these fights either. It
was a facade.
It was a facade.
Yeah.
They might have gotten one little scuffle, and now because they were in a scuffle and you weren't, then.
Right.
So when I went to high school, I had this like town, I guess, mentality of, all right, I went to this school. Mm-hmm. I went to school with kids I liked, kids I didn't like. The people in this town were very clicky.
Yep.
And now I'm going to this other school and I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to show you that like I'm not part of this town. Like I stepped out. Like you can like me or don't, but I'm going to roll in a bigger picture here.
So why did you go to Fall River? Was it a private school?
Yeah, it was a private school. I played basketball and baseball in Fall River on travel teams and AAU teams.
Yep.
Probably since I was 10 years old.
Yep.
And it was an option to go to private school. They had a good sports program, and their schedule was just way tougher, and more people would get noticed for more opportunities outside in sports from that type of just, I guess, sports program.
Yeah, it's like Rhode Island has like a Hendricken or something where
Hendricken, LaSalle.
Yeah, people go to the private schools mostly because of like sports, St.
Andrews.
Gotcha.
And I was sick of kind of like the town crap. Like there was like clickiness in sports, parents trying to influence. Not that didn't happen so much at the private school. I guess it did in some senses. But I was just like kind of done with the bullshit.
Yeah.
So I wanted a new start, new people, new opportunities. So we went there. But I think the thing about that was we had a bunch of people from all over Rhode Island, Mass.
Yep.
Different states close by, but some people knew each other somewhat, maybe from sports and different things. Some people went to school together. So you had these pods, but you threw all these different personalities into these classrooms.
Yeah.
And it became fucking wild because everyone wanted to be like, hey, I'm cool. This is my real personality. This isn't what I was at my school where I kind of was molded since I was a kid with this group. No, like, I'm going to fucking show you who I really am.
Right.
So it just got wild. And that's kind of when I learned, like, oh, you can be fucking wild in school. And you can get away with a hell of a lot. And you know what? It just kind of like in other areas taught me to just be ballsy or try things or not take no or break the rules and break the rules and have
ask for forgiveness, not permission.
I didn't
shit.
know.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the training manual.
Well, it's so funny because that has translated into, you know, even conversations that we have almost daily about business and work and personal interactions and shit. It's like,
yeah, it's
you gotta
never
find
changed.
loopholes almost.
It's loopholes. I found when I got my license, I would go late because I'd have basketball practice from like 6 to 8:30, come home, do homework, and I'd be like, I don't want to get up for first period.
Yeah, yeah.
And it kind of started I got my license sophomore year, so mid-sophomore year. So I kind of figured out that, all right, I can go late. And then I figured out, oh, the lady that you have to sign in when you're late,
yeah,
she likes me. She's not going to tell the principal. I think it was like 5 or 6 times you get a detention.
Yeah.
And I would be like racking up fucking 60, 70 in a row, dude. Like because once I kind of figured out, all right, and then I'd miss first period because I had gym second, and then third I would have like a free. So I was like, okay, if I miss first, I got all the way up until lunch where I don't got to do a fucking thing.
Right.
And then I got lunch, and then I got, all right, religion class. Well, the teacher's fucking out of his mind. So guess what? I'm going to sit here and do my homework. So then after basketball, I just go home and go to bed and sleep later. So I kind of like figured out systems.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I figured out even better, if they do catch you, they give you ISS. And ISS, you get 2 or 3 days, and I could do all my work.
Yeah.
And they let you take tests there. So why the fuck am I going to study and take tests in a classroom when I can just use my fucking book? Because the librarian loved everyone that was in ISS was usually people he liked.
Yeah,
She'd be
yeah.
like, oh, shh, don't tell anyone. I'm going to let you use your fucking book.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
This is 190. And the teachers were like, didn't want to deal with the bullshit in the class. So
yeah.
it worked out.
And that's like, again, just finding, like analyzing, finding loopholes where you can push and pull in different areas of life.
Yeah.
Now, in that era of high school and college, as you're figuring these things out, are you gearing towards, like, because I know now you kind of gear towards certain pieces of content because of the way you think. Back then, were you getting into anything based on those experiences? Like, were there CSI shows or movies that you were getting into because of those things?
I did watch TV, I guess, based off of shows. There wasn't podcasts, but I would watch some YouTube stuff back then based off of kind of the knowledge that I need. So I had a friend that got kicked out of Dartmouth. He punched the principal. Honest to God.
Was this Foops?
No, that was another. That was Seth. No, I'd love to bring Seth up on. No, T-Rod was his name. So yeah, he got kicked out of
T-Rod
for punching the principal.
Jeez.
And I always was like, how do you punch the fucking principal, right? I ended up punching the art teacher by accident once after that.
By accident?
By accident. He's a black belt.
Really?
Yeah, but we'll take that back for a second. So he comes to Dartmouth. I didn't know him at the time. We kind of became friends because I knew his oldest sister, and she's like, oh, look out for my brother. He had some issues, whatever.
Yeah.
He was a good-looking kid, cool. All the girls loved him right away. He was tough, like really fucking tough. Like not the junior high tough. Like he would knock you the fuck out one shot. He just had a Portuguese father, tough home. So we kind of had conversations about shows, and he'd be like, oh, watch this show. And he was dating all the hot chicks. So at the time I was like, all right, well, I'm going to watch this show because this kid like said you pick up on game. So I was like trying to work on my game because at the time I was like so into sports. I wasn't really dating, but I was interested in dating. But my dating skills, I guess, were just off because it was something that a lot of these other kids that didn't play sports so much had girlfriends, and that was kind of their main focus. So I'd watch The Hills or those shows kind of based off of Nip Tuck. That was, me and Teddy watched Nip Tuck. I mean, that was just like, and then you see at the time, this rich guy is loaded. He's a doctor. He has dope house, cars, obviously had tons of problems, but he had game. So, and you kind of see, all right, you got to be successful or you got to be good at something to kind of get anything you want. So I kind of started to like plot or learn different things through shows. I think that was maybe at that time, a lot of what I would do was based off of another need.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
music.
Yep.
I picked my songs based off of what I was going to listen to before the basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
And I took over making the mixtape for the games. So we'd have rallies at the school before big games. And I always was like, even back then, I wanted the crowd to just burn the fucking joint down. Like anything to get that place riled. And we had fans that were nuts, like getting kicked out, police getting called, fights. They were
Fall River
in Conley. Yeah.
Okay.
They were, again, from wherever they came from, but they're just these wild personalities. And they called it the Cougar Den. One of them would dress up as a cougar. They'd hold signs. So at this point, my music for even the rally was to get them pumped for this next game. And then I'd be like, oh, wait till you come out to this mix. I'm having my brother at home learn how to be a DJ to mix this shit up so we can bring it out and we have like fire music. But it was also stuff that I knew was going to get me like pumped.
Yeah.
I'd find a player on the other team that was like their star. Somerset had this kid, Bud Gaffney. We came out to My Buddy. Every time we would try to find like this thing to play with their mind. So even back then, I was like, we talk about content, spewing like information and create chaos. I found that the other teams were starting to get annoyed because there was like conversations around the league. Hey, when you go to Conley, it's loud. It's, they're kind of vile with what they do. So I was like, let's ramp it up a notch. So I started posting on MySpace the nicknames of the players. So we'd come up with my friend Seth. He'd come up in the class. He'd say something. He was really creative. And he'd be like, oh, my buddy, this kid, Jay Green, got suspended for drinking beer. Nice kid, but I've come up with Jay Green, the beer machine. I put a big sign up in the gym with a Bud Light can on it. He shows up in the gym, and they're like looking up at it like, who the hell put this up there?
No, even back then, because you didn't really have social media, how are you getting that information of these other kids? It's just like through...
Yeah, good question.
People?
Other people were kind of giving information. MySpace was starting at that time. Yeah. And the news, the Herald News covered a lot of these things. So you'd hear, oh, someone got suspended, or the coach would say, oh, someone got in a fight. And I'd be like, good information. Now we're taking that and going into the lab and creating something.
Yeah.
So everything was like based off of that. And then I'd watch shows and kind of get ideas and really try to like, my goal was to cause chaos with it and always get that crowd. So they'd be like, oh, can you believe what Griffin did? They put the Jay Green beard shine. And I had to actually, in the middle of the national anthem, someone pointed up to it. My coach was like, get that fucking song down. So they wheel over this thing. I guess you'd like maybe change lights or something with. Yeah. And it's like stairs. You've probably seen them in gyms. You probably have Brian and different places that you've been. So they wheel this thing over, and I have to climb up. Now he knows it's me. And this kid is a nice kid. He's a really good athlete. He probably finished like top of his class too. He was not a scumbag. He just made a poor decision. So I'm taking it down in the middle of the game. I'm like, hey man, I had to do it. I had to do it. So so it just, everything was based off of like taking information and how I was going to influence another area.
Yeah. And it's cool that you did that even with the music thing of finding like the My Buddy or like songs to try to like fuck with them. And you see that now with even like the UFC or something. You come out to certain songs to try to fuck with somebody.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And we were talking about it last night on the way home from wrestling. A lot of these wrestlers or even fighters, and keep names out of it, but even locally, they don't have that it of like, you got to fucking attack. You got to be playing that mind game. Yeah. You're a good fighter, but that next level is like really spewing chaos. Right. Because that's what these good fighters do. I mean, Garcia is out of his mind in certain areas, but he knows the game. Jake, why has Jake been so good? He knows the game. Right.
I mean, there's guys where, certain characters, even like a Colby Covington, that he's just...
Like him or hate him, he's doing it,
and he's fucking good. And but he creates chaos. And the funniest thing is he took you remember Kurt Angle?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So now when Colby fights, he uses Kurt Angle's music, like the the American whatever the heck the name of the song is, and they just chant "You suck" because he knows he's playing a heel. So it's like with Kurt Angle, it's like "You suck." So he comes out to the UFC and people chant "You suck" because people want to see him lose. It's like Mayweather.
It's like Mayweather. I picked that up early too because I watched a lot of wrestling.
Yeah.
And I learned good shit talking. I always had it from sports. Like even at 8-10 years old, like someone would challenge me in sports, I'd be like, I'm fucking coming for you. Like I always had that want to fight, never want to back down, want to, like, even if I felt a little fear, fear for me would be like, okay, you're going to make the first move. Like you're going to be crazier than that person that you may have fear for and show them that you're not backing down. Right. And usually, you know, now the powers will, someone's going to win that, you know, or respect you and kind of let things pass. So I listened to songs that had that. I'd watch shows where there was that. And then like taking that WWE type stuff, I brought it into school. I'd bring it into, if I didn't like someone in class, I'd, you know, I'd hope that someone like Seth would make a joke. And then I'd pick up on it, and it'd get lower, and it'd get lower, because I'd be like, I'm trying to instigate you right now and try to provoke you. And that was this kind of the same in sports. Right.
It's interesting because me and my friend who was on the last episode, we were talking afterwards. Like, we didn't even touch on wrestling, and I'm like, that was a big, for most of the guys that I know in my like circle growing up, that was a huge piece of like entertainment for us growing up. I mean, from when you were like a little kid through high school and even now, like I still watch it.
Yeah, I still watch the product. I mean, I think everyone probably has too, but going through different eras of watch it, turn it off. Sure. You know, it's had its ups and downs. Sure. But it's from a content standpoint, from a branding standpoint, from a business standpoint, from production, everything. Yeah. There's so much that you can learn by just watching that product.
Yeah, seriously. It kind of has everything. So I guess transitioning into, this is like perfect timing actually. So transitioning into like today.
Yep.
What are you into as far as like music? What are you following now?
So in the car, if I have music on, I listen to country. I only listen to country. I don't want to listen to bullshit, crap. I don't want to fill my brain with that language. Yeah. I guess it's in my opinion, it's not good to consume all that garbage all the time. Sure. You know, it's like vile stuff going into your mind.
Sure.
But I think that does have that, I don't know, energy that you can take in certain points, whether you're playing basketball or I got a game tomorrow night, so I'm going to wear my headphones before the game to transition into, hey, I got to get my mind right. I'm going to a game now, and we talked about this situation with this game itself. Yep. It's a battle now. It's not just like pick up. We're in a league. Right. The team's a little tense right now. Yeah. So I want to focus, and it's not because I want to like have tense situations with these characters on my team. Sure. It's I want to just go do my thing, and I need to lock in. So this like vile shit talking, like rough music is gonna get me there. When I'm in my car driving, sometimes I'll put on meditation music because I just want my mind to be at peace. I want it to be clean. I don't want to, and
you do that at home too, because sometimes when I hear you or we're on the phone, I always say it's the PS4 music in the background. It's like a meditation.
It's like a spa, because I just like, I value that nonsense of kind of being out of my mind, because you're going to pick it up in other areas. You're going to deal with it with a work situation, or if you're running a business, or characters, friends, family, it comes into your life no matter how much you're trying to avoid it. Right. And you're going to have these conversations that are just not positive.
It is funny because you think about it, and there's certain times where I don't want to listen to the heavy shit because it can influence how you're feeling and your emotion. Even if you're listening to something like, I don't know, like a sad Ed Sheeran song, it might bring you down because it's like there's a time and place for that music. So you use it as a tool.
There is. And I think that's why music takes people through different timelines in their life and brings them back to different places. And, love songs when you're a kid, we talked about before, like crushing on a girl, it's going to make you have all these emotions that aren't really necessarily true to that situation, but you're feeling whatever that song's feeling. Sure. So kind of controlling that energy and making sure that you're just putting out a good, good vibes.
Right.
And I think like I enjoy country music. I think that one part of me is still has that going in high school and college, hanging out with Junior and Teddy and riding around in the lifted truck, rolling through like Rehoboth, like mud bogging, going to those true, real country, I would almost say middle of America type pieces. There's a part of me that looks at it like we haven't evolved, but there's also that part of me that appreciates those like core human values of small town and relationships and not thinking too big. We obviously always talk about thinking bigger, but there's some appreciative, and I listen to that country music and it's just peaceful. It's cool.
Now, are you listening to like current country, or is there a time period of country that you kind of stick to?
Yeah, I listen to just whatever's on the radio. I mean, I like older songs too. There'll be sometimes I'll pull it up on Pandora or YouTube and I'll say, oh, I want to listen to this because I heard something current that reminds me of it.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I just throw on like 98.1 and just listen to whatever's on the radio.
Gotcha. I mean, they have, I don't know if you have Sirius, but I've been listening to a lot of the Y2 country.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's from like 2000 to like, I don't know if it's 15 or something like that.
That's a good era.
It's a great era because that's when I started getting into country. Like I started listening to Kenny probably around 2006, 7, 8, and then that whole era. And
Darius Rucker.
Darius Rucker, Brooks and Dunn.
Oh my God.
So that's a great era. So I put that on now, and I'm like, but again, it takes you back to that time. Like I hear a song, and I'm like, oh shit! Like I think of doing landscaping at Bryant when I first started listening to Kenny. I'm like, oh, it just takes you right back.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thing with that era, and I just enjoy kind of thinking about some of those times, and also some of that stuff that I learned then is, so prevalent now. And we talked before, like that era when I met you and like some of the crazy stuff I'm doing at college. And you're like, but I just like went from high school with crazy kids, and then I'm hanging out with Junior, who I don't think you ever did meet.
I didn't meet him, no.
But as you know, the situation just endless means.
Yeah.
Knows everybody. It just father's a rock star.
Yeah.
And now I'm like hanging out with Bam, like literally Viva La Bam.
Yeah.
That show I watched and I was like living it. He's got this house. He throws these insane parties. He's got a lifted monster truck.
It was cool being around like Teddy and Kurt and listening to the stories of you guys like growing up with Junior and stuff. I was like, oh man, that sounds so fucking fun.
It's just like and even when I go play pickleball there now, I'm like, someone will say, oh, his aunts and uncles,
and
a couple of people that are like my age that weren't friends with him but were around, and say, oh, when Junior was alive, I'm like, oh, did you know this story? Like, and they'll just come back, and I'm like, wait, what? Like that happened?
Yeah.
I told you about the time they put the lift up over the house, right?
Oh yeah.
Kid showed up with like a squirrel, like
This is crazy shit.
And at that time, his father just had $12 million taken from him.
Really?
Did I tell you that?
I don't know if I heard that one.
His accountant was set up like shell companies, and she was taking money for like 10 years.
No shit.
Built a mansion up in Vermont, threw a wedding for her neighbor. Was going to have Elton John sing at it. But she basically cloned what John and Trish did here.
Yeah.
Having his summer party with 2,000 people. She decides she's going to do it up there.
Yep.
And just spent $12 million. So they're here in Rehoboth now recuperating all the shit she bought. She bought a whole Spooky World. She has like a Chevy Nova or some type of like old Chevelle that they took and put basically turned it into like a hearse. So it was like half of it in the front was like, true muscle car. The other half's a hearse. There's a real casket in it. Jeez. And it does wheelies.
Really?
But it's supposed to be like this Halloween thing.
Yeah.
They had a beer truck. So take what you'd fill a pool up with, like the water truck. Now they have this truck that's filled with beer
Oh
with spouts on the side. So it was just so that era. Then I go to CCRI and I'm living this every day after school or weekends, this wild fucking show. And it's like everywhere I go, I want it to be a wild show. And I want to recruit other idiots to come into this network of fools, because it was always back then like, who can outdo someone? Who can come up with the next stupid idea or next idiot to bring into this group that's going to be fucking wild. So that just translated into college. And it also, I started to see, like, especially with him, network and who you know. And it goes back to like what I learned in high school of, you know, you can get out of things. I started to have, I don't want to say no fear, but I knew a lot of workarounds.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about this shit all the time now.
And it's the same with even, I'll be on a call, a work-related call, or I'll be on a call for Margaret, and some of the things, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so many steps ahead of you. It's like, and then it's people that are probably in their careers for a long time, and we talk about this religiously. I don't know how, because of maybe the experiences we've had and the characters we've met along the way, that these people that are in these same positions for 20, 30, 10 years, or same positions, move company to company, how they don't see the things that we're seeing passing us like this, and it's taking them they just don't get certain things.
I don't know either. It's weird because we talk about it all the time with the different situations, but it's also between the two of us. We've worked so many different jobs growing up and even post college that like we've been into different companies, the way they operate, different players that are in those, you know, the different customers or suppliers that you're dealing with at each of those places. You're dealing with so many different characters. Now you kind of start picking up things.
You're picking up things. One character is similar to another character that you already worked with. It goes almost back to like when you're running Facebook ads and trying to clone different personality types. You see that when you're working or dealing with so many people. All right, this personality is like this. I already don't like this person. Because and it's maybe not fair right away, but you know the personality characteristics of something similar from someone else, and you already know how the situation's gonna go. So you're like, all right, maybe I'm being judgmental or whatever. You're like, no, because I have a knowledge base of history on these type of behaviors and know the outcome. And I don't want to be down that road again. So I'm gonna maybe pull the trigger a little quicker because we've already been there.
And there's times too where some of the conversations that we have, we'll text about a Netflix documentary about these certain like characters, or what the heck was the one with the Victoria's Secret? Les Wexner. Or, did I say that wrong? Lex Wessner or
What is his house once? Remember I stopped by when we were in New York after the after the takedown. We didn't go in,
but like those big, like, you know, those documentaries and those certain high profile characters and the way they do, like, and then we'll talk about it and we'll text throughout each episode about what's going on and all the players and the situations and shit.
And even breaking down stuff like that, it just helps you in your daily interactions of like how people operate. And it's like when we're talking about that, it's like they're operating over here. And even people that are operating slightly under them, some of them are oblivious to what the fuck's going on. So then when we're operating in this, I guess you'd call it more of like a middle section with people that are doing decent in their careers, they don't fucking understand like this whole other network and situation that's going on above them. And I think we've been lucky with video work or relationships and some of the trips that I've taken, and just to be able to kind of see like this higher level situation that goes on is so much different than when you're in a job and you're in college and you're at this level. You know, and the rich guy that's on, you know, our mutual friend, that level that travels.
Sure.
That's different than even the other friend we just talked about. And they're both like at this top level, but it just, the mountain keeps climbing.
Right,
It's
right,
kind of like anything that you do. It's like playing Super Mario. You unlock a new level and you learn more.
Yep.
And I think that our problems was probably with some of these situations we've worked in where they're just like not fulfilling enough is because the people that we're around aren't unlocking fast enough for our interactions to be continuously growing, if that makes sense.
No, it totally does. I'm thinking of it too, is because I just rewatched The Last Dance for like the 20th fucking time. One of the episodes they talk about how with all the stuff going on, Jordan he was always present. And that's where that really stuck with me about being present. And we talked about this the other day with my Target example which was a silly thing, but we talked about it and it's like, I had really nothing to do with the transaction that was there that day, but I knew all the details I was there, I was present, but as far as like most of the items weren't mine, who paid for it. And then when I had to go back, it's like the lady asked me all these questions. I could have listed off every single item that was bought and only 3 of them were mine. I knew the total and I didn't pay. I knew the register and I was just kind of like a background character in the whole thing. And it's like being present. I think is a huge deal. Not worrying about the future or having the past influence where you're at. You can kind of peak, but stay in the moment, stay present.
And if you can understand, we talked about this last night, part of yesterday, that self-awareness, and you understand like that Target example of being present, right?
I just thought of something else when you said that.
But being present, you're present, really present. We talked about the woman with the daycare and all that, like totally fucking not present. Totally, that's a mental health issue before that situation happened. You can lock in to be that present in a Target situation. Think of what else you can unlock in life because you have that ability. You've already beat that thing that people can't do. They're just erratic.
Because if I showed up there that day and then they had all those questions and I didn't have the answer,
you fucking stole it. At that point.
Yeah, then it's like, well, then I can't be helped. I went all the way there for nothing. Then I have to wait for somebody else to come back with me to go do this. And it's like, just pay attention. Just kind of be in the moment and pay attention because I had all the answers like
Done.
that. Easy.
Same thing as you sending an email. Well, we talked about this the other day. Hey, I'm going to send you an email about this, and this.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about this, and this? They pulled you away from what you were doing originally, which was not this, and this thing they're calling about. Yeah. And then they send you an email about what they just called you after you've already tried to like scramble notes together in case you missed it. Yeah. It's about collecting your thoughts, being present in what you need, sending it off. So your Target example is a good example of, okay, I'm going to edit this film. I need to remember where I was when I shot these pieces, be present enough to go back and say, oh, I see that boat. I remember I was standing on the dock. This happened. Okay, I remember these other clips because now I can put it together faster. Otherwise, you're sitting in those clips and we know how long it takes already. Trying to rewrite the story. Oh, I don't remember. Right. So much time is wasted in that day in your life by just not being present.
Right. And I was just working on something too, where putting a shot list together for a short video, and I try to I literally just make a shot list. But I'm envisioning it as I'm writing it, so then I know if I just use like a key word, I'll know because you know what I mean? That's also being present, but visualizing.
Yeah.
Because when I go to shoot it, I'm going to remember, all right, I wrote that. Like, I know what it means. There is no wait, why did I write that? What was the shot in my head? Like, I know what I meant in the moment. So it's like that visualization is also, I think, key.
I do that a lot with the trick shots.
Yeah.
I think, all right, well, I got to be present because a lot of them are just like science, right? You're throwing it off a wall. You got this little space that you absolutely have to hit for it to bounce off the wall, bounce on the ground, and bounce into the hoop.
Right.
But you got to lock in.
Right.
And some of them are brutal. Some of them I'll hit the second or third time, and it almost feels too easy. It's almost like that instant success. You're like, did I really earn this? Even though you did, and even though the flip side of it is I could be there for an hour. I could be there for 40 minutes, whatever.
Right.
but locking in when you hit that spot and it bounces off the rim and not being like, oh, I just missed it. It's going to take forever. Oh, no, you just made it because you just found the spot that you need to hit to get it that much closer into the hoop.
Now, when you're doing your stuff, I know for myself, when I am about to do a video project, I try to, I don't know if it was Lil Wayne that said this. I think it was. I try to not watch anything similar to the idea because I don't want to be influenced. As far as trick shots, do you like to be inspired or do you like to just be like, do you watch anything like a Dude Perfect or do you like to I want to just do my own shit and block everything else out?
A little bit. There's a kid, Tristan Jazz. He's
okay. There's a kid you sent me.
He has like the Jake Paul hair.
Yeah.
He crushes it. He's hands down one of the best ever. I mean, honestly, he does things that just Dude Perfect they're not athletic enough to do.
Really? Okay.
He'll jump off a rail, throw it through his legs twice around the back, and then wing it at the top of a stadium, one bounce into the hoop.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you do it 1,000 times, you're gonna make it.
Sure.
But getting it through the legs and that's tough. I have trouble even jumping and getting it through the legs. So that like act is you got to practice it. So I'll sometimes watch him and be like, oh my God, I'm miles away from hitting that exact same shot.
Yeah.
But then I'll throw one. I think I showed it to you. Or maybe I didn't. Maybe we haven't talked about it. But I did one where I threw it off the wall at a school in Cranston. Mm-hmm. That thing got 66,000 likes on YouTube.
Wow.
10,000 comments, 1.7 million views.
No shit.
And it wasn't some ridiculous thing. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I was 30 yards back. I threw it off the wall, bouncing into the hoop.
Yeah.
But you know what it was? It was people like, oh, it looks like he's out of prison.
Yeah.
People, I went, somehow they find this video. They went to the school.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's edited. Look at the bounce. Now you're looking at the concrete and there's fucking holes everywhere. Like it's a war zone. And you're like, of course it hit that hole and went in. It's not a flat pavement.
Right.
But no matter what with the content, it's weird. Like I could do a crazy one through my legs at Gillette Stadium and it might get 10,000 views.
Yeah.
I could do that one and it's almost 2 million.
Yeah.
So I've kind of went back to evolve as you go, but if you get caught up watching him or Dude Perfect, you're going to feel so much further away from where you need to be versus like we talked about yesterday. Sure. Just chip away. Just fucking chip away at it. Keep doing it. Because then when I'm doing them and I'm missing.
Yeah.
And then is this not good enough? Because I'm not throwing it through my legs. Is this not cool enough?
Yeah.
You start to question your own shot.
Right.
And what I found is post something every day that's consistent with your lane. Mm-hmm. That's better than trying to do these random, big, fucking huge, I'm going to go viral from this shot.
Yeah.
That's not the goal. It's to build up a strong audience and a presence and evolve. We talked about the truck, getting the hoop in the truck. Kind of like being, I guess you'd say, what is it, foresighted, front-sighted, whatever you see before you do something.
Yeah.
So when we went to Mexico, there was on the plane you could watch documentaries, and I don't necessarily always do that on the plane. I kind of just like take a nap. I'm not very comfortable on those flights, even with the extended leg thing. It's just someone always goes backwards, takes my knee out. So I feel like I'm already like in this. I got to kind of stay present and keep my knees in a good space. Or the lady's going to be sitting in my lap and I'm going to be like knee in her seat, like, come on. So I don't always like watch something like that, but this happened to be the person in front of me there wasn't anyone there. There was two people. There wasn't a person in the middle. So I saw this documentary about Shaun White, the snowboarder.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me throw it on. And I just got chills thinking about it because his process became similar where he'd kind of see people doing tricks and think people like catching up. But he knew that he was onto something from like an early age.
Yeah.
And then he started to see that there was like from winning in the X Games and stuff, he needed to take it to another level. Mm. And the next level of it was, I'm going to find some random land. I think it was like Colorado. Buy this land, buy a fucking helicopter because you had to take a helicopter in, build a half pipe, and go out and film content with his boys, but learn how to do things that no one else was doing.
Yeah.
Because he could watch his film back, and he had a place to go where everyone else had to either fly out or have to wait for different types of seasons.
Yeah.
There was like, I think it was like 9 months out of the year or 10 months out of the year, he was able in this Colorado spot to have snow.
Wow.
It was something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was like, and the other 2 months he was able to travel. I don't know. You'd have to watch it to see how it broke down. But that was where he, and always was continuing like to evolve like that. Yeah. Then what happened was other people were like jealous. Oh, he's cheating. He's doing this and that. Red Bull then came and built something even sicker, like in the Swiss Alps or something, where like he could, and then they were flying him there to train. And my thought process when I watched that was like, I had already been thinking about the truck. And I was like, okay, well, you don't have to get caught up in doing like 3 legs at all these stadiums or that. Buy the truck, go somewhere like Gillette Stadium and throw it off the tower into the truck, because no one else has the ability to do that. No other trick shotter. There's like this girl that does them in a gym. She does well, but she's like throwing the football through her legs, hitting it with a baseball bat. It's all like these like carnival fucking acts.
Circus type shit.
And that's, they have their place.
Yeah.
But like, let's focus on doing mind-blowing, I guess you'd call it semi-circus tricks, really good, cool locations, and elevate the game.
Right.
So that's kind of my thought process. So I don't get caught up in that other stuff, because it in some sense, it will bring you down.
Yeah, no, 100%. If you can take the emotion out of it, but there's times where if I'm creating something, I'm like, I feel like I'm getting influenced, or I might get sidetracked and be like, my shit's not that good, not yet or something.
Yeah, it does it. And I think that's where people have that failure to launch, because then that procrastination comes in. Like, oh, well, I'm not there yet. I'm not going to do it. Well, you watch, truthfully, you like, oh, watch the Dude Perfect thing. And that week I had a bunch of things going on. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I want to watch it, but I don't want to watch it.
Yeah,
because it's the
fair.
competitive piece.
Yeah.
They're doing obviously great and amazing. I've always respected what they've done, but I also like sitting there watching it thinking, oh, I'm not moving fast enough. I'm not I'm not getting to the level I want my content to look visually there yet.
Right.
But then you watch it, and the flip side is this niche isn't like fitness, right? Or food, or mental health coach, or I'm going to teach you how to run Facebook ads, or real estate agent, all these like online verticals.
Yeah.
There's trick shotters, but there's not a lot of them. So there's still a huge market space to be owned in this space.
Yeah.
It works. And I think what I've gained by watching that is they've been creative. They've obviously grown a business. You've learned a lot of the kind of back behind the scenes thing that went on when you bring certain characters in and parents involved, or whatever the case may be. So I looked at it more from that versus not what we're not doing, what it can be, and just kind of chipping away at it and kind of being in the right area.
Sure. So what's the next evolution? I mean, you were talking about the truck and stuff. What's the next evolution of the trick shots and the content that you're doing?
We've talked about it, and we wanted to do some of that today. Unfortunately, you can't do the actual YouTube piece, but filming YouTube long format videos.
Sure.
Going back to what we know worked, like what worked with the Pauls, what's worked with Dude Perfect, what's worked with Mr. Beast. Long format videos that are entertaining or make you feel a certain type of way. So
like more behind the scenes of like those events and whatnot?
Yeah. So the behind the scenes, like I kind of envision it. We're going to go do a trick shot at Rick, we'll say. And we're going to meet up. Margaret's going to come. Anthony's going to come film us. We're all going to jump in the car. He's going to kind of get everything that we're going to talk about along the way, just whatever, talk about the shot, kind of then get in there, show the setup, show the misses, show the like back and forth, kind of whatever happens in that moment, not just like everyone kind of sees with the shots, like the make at the end, and then build that. I think part of me is also when I'm driving, last night I'm driving to the wrestling up in Boston, and there's a hoop on the side of the road. It's a nice neighborhood. hoops down, kids in the backyard. I think my content, and this kind of goes back to what I did with Teddy or Junior or that, and without content, needs to also have somewhat of a, I can't fucking believe that just happened flair.
Yeah, yeah.
But not trying too hard to do that, doing what I would have normally done as a kid, but not being like a punk, finding that fine line, but doing it.
Yeah.
Kids in the backyard, we're stopping and we're filming. We're knocking on that fucking door and we're going to be like, hey, I do trick shots on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't have some million following, whatever, but we do good videos.
Yep.
Can we do a trick shot on your hoop?
Right.
And film stuff like that. You know, like mix it up. And that trick shot's not going to be some ridiculous one.
No.
But people can relate to that because they've been driving and been thinking, oh, I'd love to take a shot on that kid's hoop. I'd like to shoot with that kid.
Sure.
We're going by a park. We're going to stop. We're going to have a Target gift card, maybe a Dunkin' gift card. I don't know. Maybe get one of those.
Yeah.
But some type of gift card for $100.
Yep.
And this is like invest in yourself or invest in your content. Maybe we have 5 of them. I don't know, depending on, just be ready to do it. We're going to pull someone from a park, ask them if they're willing to be mic'd up, and see if they give them 10 tries to hit a trick shot.
Yeah.
See if they can do it.
Yeah.
We kind of did that in Miami. We didn't have gift cards, but we went, Fort Lauderdale, went to a park. I went to film mine. Guy wanted to catch the balls. This park is on the water. It was 6 o'clock at night. By the end of it, there's like 60 people. There's two courts. So there's people waiting to play on the courts. The games end. They're like, we have 4 fucking hoops going back and forth. Everyone's trying to hit these trick shots.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, oh, there's something here where you put money on the line. You film this. Every one of those people involved is going to follow you now or share that video. So you're kind of building community along the way.
Sure.
So I see the evolution of that. And I think the third piece of this is I go to these schools and do these trick shots. And I think the beauty of it is it reminds you when you're a kid going to a playground, like you talked about, throwing your headphones on, shooting somewhere random. But these schools are just so run down. Yeah. The playgrounds are so beat. Yeah. And these kids deserve better. And the towns, whatever, they might not have the money. But it's like sad. I'm talking like fucking weeds growing up through the cracks. And it looks cool for my content because it's like, oh, that's a school. You know, it's like, it's that like rusticy, abandoned vibe. You know, I'm not trying to do everything at Fort Lauderdale Beach. Those fit in, but they all kind of fill this good storyline. Right. We're going to go back with a weed whacker. We're going to, weed whack that down. Maybe have someone like John come repave the thing. Cut the shit ass hoop down. Put a new hoop in. And then just leave it. We're not going to necessarily go back and film the kids' reaction. And Just leave it. Like give that back to that little school. Yeah. I think what that does is after you do a few of them, granted, we don't have to do the parking lot and all that over. You can go put a hoop like you have in your yard up and replace that broken one for $500. Whatever it may be. Brands are going to eventually work with you and pay for you to go out and do that whole playground over the way it should be. And it kind of comes full circle because when I was a kid, I went to a school in Swansea, the Brown School. The playground sucked. The hoop sucked. My parents were like, this is fucking bad. Why can't the town do it? The town didn't really have the resources. My grandparents and a group of people came together and they raised thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't know what the number is to this time, but they redid the entire playground, cut the hoops down, put new hoops. That playground is still there today, and there's a plaque dedicated to both sides of my grandparents, my parents, and they did it in another playground in the town. So they ended up doing a public one and the school one. So part of me is ever since I've been a kid, it was before YouTube, and that was oh, I'm gonna at some point when I'm crushing it or successful enough or have the relationships, do that shit.
That's like using the platform to build a community.
You know,
and if you benefit off of some views and whatnot, that's just the cherry on top.
I think in some senses, like charity always has that aspect.
It does, but you know what though? It's still like people get to a certain level even with their money and stuff. They don't have to. That's the biggest thing is like, well, so and so set up a foundation. Yeah, it's a tax write off. It's like, yeah, but they didn't have to do it. You know what I mean? It's like people are kind of losing sight of
They don't have to do it.
They don't have to.
And we could honestly, we could go just show up a random. The whole content could be we're just going to show up some random house, knock on the door, and ask to use the hoop.
Right,
and
right,
that
right.
would do probably perfect enough.
Right.
People would be like, oh, they knocked on some random door, you know.
Yeah.
Or just pull up on the side of the road and there's people playing basketball. I'm going to challenge you to a game of horse.
Yeah.
That aspect of content would do fine.
Yeah.
But I think that having this 3 tiers shows, okay, the trick shot, like the reality TV version of it,
Yep.
the chaos version, and the actual, like, all right, they're humane, they're good people, they see more than themselves.
Yeah.
That's kind of the evolution of it.
Yeah.
And just kind of scheduling them out. Like, and not like, I'd love to be like, all right, let's do one every single day.
Yeah.
But that's the way it goes. And I talked to Margaret about this the other day. I also want to try to figure out once a year, do a derby. And back to like my original goal, because the MLB changed their format this year. They kind of did all of us, I don't want to say dirty, but they changed it.
Yeah.
And I think when you rely on those type of things, or we've talked about with sponsorships to be your main game and not have anything else going on, you get let down by a way a brand maneuvers that's best for themselves.
Yeah.
And not to say that if I had 5 million followers on YouTube, that the MLB would change for me, because maybe they would.
Right.
Maybe they wouldn't. But if you bank on that and not build your own thing along the way, then you might never do it again.
Right.
So we talked about it the other day, because yesterday was the year from the first one.
Yeah.
And when we were at the poker run, there was a foundation there. And I said to Margaret, I'm like, they are in the sports space. They like these type of events. I should pitch to them. Why don't we do one at Worcester? Why don't we do an influencer, retired athlete derby? Let's do it locally.
Yeah.
You got to tie it to a foundation anyways.
Sure.
The MLB does that. You want to have that, like, we're not paying people millions of dollars to do this, so let's raise money instead.
Right.
And I pitched it to them, and they loved it. And I got to kind of follow up with the woman and give her a little more formats. But the decks are done from before.
Yeah. Right.
And now that I've done it with the MLB twice, I know kind of what they do well and what could be done differently. Now I have the resume where before I was just pitching these random things.
Yeah, right.
And my content is now fully sports related. I think that's like the 4th piece of content to the YouTube, but it's not going to be all the time. It just kind of ties everything in.
Right.
So that's like the
like
overall business plan behind that.
I like it. I dig it. Yeah, I guess we're right around that time. Where can everybody find you? On the Instagrams and the TikToks and the YouTubes?
High Flyer BG11 on all platforms.
On all platforms. It's the same on all.
It's
all
the
right.
same.
I'll put it all in the description here of this here episode if you want to go follow the Trick Shot King over here.
I'm going to go on his roof right now.
Well, thanks for coming on, dude.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll do it again.
Great. Yeah.